about teeth. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Fridays with Sue and Steph. And oddly, today I came up with a really long list to talk about. How about you, Steph?
Oh,
It was so easy to fill.
so
Somehow it
easy.
is so easy to fill a list of things we would do differently. I suspect next week, when we talk about things we felt like we did well, is going to be harder to say.
It's totally
Um,
true. We have 3 hours, right?
for which one? This one?
This one.
Ah, okay. Well, not exactly. We have under 30 minutes. And
Okay. You
so
can start. Go ahead.
I'm going to start with the easiest one for me to talk about, which is I I wanted friendships to be permanent.
Mm,
And which of course they aren't. I mean, I tend to hold on to people. So I do have my two closest friends from childhood still very deeply in my life. But it's not to say along the way there haven't been people who dropped off. Of course, it's life, right? And yet when my kids would have friendships kind of shift, I really wanted them. I wanted to convince them to keep them, whether it was that they were booted out or that they booted the other person. I felt like, but they were your friend, and I think that
mm,
that's so not fair to put on other people. Like, friendships. We
yeah.
now know in retrospect, we learn from so many good experts that, particularly in middle school, friendships are really like a time to explore who you want to be when you grow up. And so they do change quickly. And like for me, I was so invested in those relationships and loved them so much that I clung to them after my kids were done with them for whatever cause they're being done with. And
Yeah.
I think that's damaging. I would not do that.
Yeah.
I
That's
would be more of the grown up next time.
man, if we could, right? If we got to see everything from this side, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know.
And also, you guys who are watching, feel free to make us feel better and jump on in with your own stuff. We'll share it.
Because we're just gonna continue to make ourselves feel worse as we go down
Well,
this.
I mean, the truth is, I have great kids, so I think there's lots of ways to screw up, which they tell their therapists. So it's great.
Exactly. Okay. So
Okay.
my first one was to tune out the noise. Like I wish I had tuned out like the noise of just what felt like now again now it's easier told by this side like that I was raising three individuals and my family's not going to be the same as your family and another family. Like I wish I would have just known like maybe more understood like the path to individuality, which I don't know. I don't know if I'm articulating it well, but what the phrase I wrote was tune out the noise.
So I thought you were going to go because I was really good at tuning out the noise. Like
Oh no,
there,
no, I was good at tuning out like the noise and
yeah, yeah, but you
the
don't mean that.
noise.
Yeah,
I meant, yeah, you know what I mean.
not exactly, but go
Okay.
for
Okay.
it.
I mean the noise of like what kids should be doing and they should be taking
uh,
these classes and like
yeah,
that just to look at the one in front of you. I got there again,
yeah.
like everything, but like I think I wish I would have understood earlier like the path to individuality. Like I remember a very specific conversation with you about some of this stuff. And you had said to me, I'm like, is it me? Am I crazy? Like, I feel like this is what's going on. And you're like, well, it depends what your end game is. Like, what, what's the goal? Like, what's the value that and I remember having, not even worth going into, we can talk offline, but I remember like having that epiphany, like, oh, she's so right. Like, yeah, we're pretty clear on what our values are. So it was a shift. It was a
I think
shift.
of the
And I
noise. I
loved
think
it.
you do
I
mean the
loved it.
noise. You mean the noise not in your house. It's not like kids screaming at each
Oh
other.
no,
You
I
mean the
am
external noise.
the external noise. Oh, tuning out the noise in my house. That's like my superpower. So
Me
that's for
too.
next
Me
week.
too. High five.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah. No, that I was overly good at that. And my
Mhm.
kids, I think
Same.
my kids actually are pretty good at it now also. And I don't like it at all because it's usually directed at me. So I
Good one.
overtaught them that skill.
Yes.
Um, okay, so here's one that you were really good at and I did not do well. I found my kids' time to be more precious than I needed to. And so there was very little demanded of them in the house. In
Mm.
fact, some would say nothing demanded of them in the house. Now they did go to school. It was a dual curriculum. It was a private
Yeah.
school, and they came home sometimes at 6 and then had a program to go to at 7. And their time was more limited. To some of my kids switched to the public school, and they'd come home at like 2:30 in the afternoon. So, but I never switched the model when they did have time. Like it could have been that Sunday, like maybe someone who had a long day during the week participated, but they showed up to dinner, cooked, someone else cleaned up after them. There was the only thing I did make them do was their own laundry, which I was always grateful for.
You were very good at that, actually.
I was good with that because they were rightfully frustrated with not getting their own clothes back. And I said, they didn't get their own clothes back because with 5 kids, like socks don't necessarily end up in the right drawer.
Right.
So I said, okay, I have the perfect solution. Like, here's your laundry basket, do your clothing, put your clothing away. And that argument disappeared. Like that whole fight disappeared. Here, let's share what Lori said.
Rock that.
Last night I went to my niece's high school basketball game. I sat with an old childhood friend. We met up with other old friends. Wow, that is a reality check. Felt old, but so glad to not be back in high school. Yeah, that's one of my later ones that I'm going to bring up, Lori. There you go. Okay, your next one.
Okay, my next one. That, and maybe it relates to my individuality. That I wish, I wish I had like the knowledge that they would talk when they had something to say. Like they didn't need to be peppered with questions. They didn't like that. If they had something new to bring or new, like, and some of my kids more so than others, but they're pretty good at knowing when things are on their mind and saying what's going through them. They don't need someone to sit there like with a crank and like a screwdriver and pliers trying to open it up. So maybe more patience with them opening those doors than me hammering those open.
Yeah. So I would say that my kids would tell you that I'm still really working hard on that, but maybe not hard enough.
Yes. So your point is you can relate to what I'm saying.
I can really relate, but also I can't say I got better at it.
Yeah, I didn't say that either.
In fact, last night, one of my kids said, I'm going to work through this with my therapist. And if I need your opinion on this, I'll let you know. And I was like, whoo, ding.
It's one of Todd Silverman's famous lines is, if I want your opinion, I'll beat it out of you.
So you don't have to ask, is the point. But some kids you might have to. So that's just, we know our kids.
Yep.
Okay. So this one hurts me when people talk about it. And like when we interview people and they talk about how rough it is to be a kid and to come home from school and to walk in the house with like your mom assaulting you with questions about the day and saying, don't talk to me like that. We don't talk to each other like that. And I got better with like kids as we went down that path. But I was rough with those first few about like the expectations of how you talk to me and how we talk to each other. And like, the truth is I could have been not a little more compassionate, but like exponentially more compassionate about how rough it is just to exist, just to get up in the morning, spend all day at school where the demands are endless and you are putting forth your best face all those hours, and like just coming home and being able to be like maybe not perfect.
Yeah, that's a good one. I just switched my 2 around because my fourth one dovetails well to this one. I wish I had learned to validate them more and earlier and just lob things, when they're like, and just said, that sounds like that was really hard. That's it, right? A few words. I got better, like everything, not like everything. I didn't get worse. I don't think I'll say that.
No, but on this one, we traveled that path together actually on your team.
We did.
Because that was something that we learned from like stellar experts who said, totally. Yeah, they're not looking for you. I mean, sometimes they want you to solve their problem.
Yeah, sure.
But most of the time, and that's to date also, that like, even as my adult children, like one event sometimes, I'm really good now. Like we were taught through your teen, which is such a
Yes.
gift.
Yeah, we were taught through your teen, and I was taught by you because I can remember being in a car going to the West Side.
It's not true. You learned the same from the same people I did, but you just remember that one experience because it was so extraordinary, I would say.
It was extraordinary. It was when I determined that my business partner was gifted, because
No,
truly,
not really.
truly gifted. I was just listening to her on the phone, and she's going, okay, yeah, yeah, cool as a cucumber. You get off the phone, and I'm like, oh, yeah. And you told me kind of what was going on. I'm like, you are so calm. You're like, fucking insane. Are you?
We say it.
Yeah.
You didn't listen to the whole interview?
I heard half of her. I heard half of her yesterday. I'm going to watch.
Yeah. So swearing, actually, Sunya Luther said that I think she was the one who said that it's good for your mental health to swear. And then Jessica came on and said it was good for something else. I can't remember, but really we were all very much validating our love of swearing. So there you go.
Love.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah.
But
so
yes, that was the moment I really truly thought you were a gifted mother and individual, for real.
Why? Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yes. All taught through the lens of your teen. So lucky us. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm going to do one more.
Okay.
And this is, a lifetime work in progress, but taking things less personally, like really helps the relationship so much. It allows for so much more intimacy in the relationship. And my current experience as, Steph, we all swear, Lori says. Yay, Lori. We knew we loved you.
Yeah. That is fucking awesome. Yes, that's such a good one, Sue. That's such a good one. You're right. Like, one, it preserves yourself, but also, like you said, it just.
Oh, Jessica says, here, let's just show it
ahead.
up. We're back to swearing. People like to talk about this. Studies say swearing goes hand in hand with honesty. I tried to do a project on it in my college public speaking class, but I wasn't allowed to swear in the presentation. Jessica, that is just friggin' awesome. That's fucking awesome.
Wait, go on. Say more about not taking things personally. I think that's so great for parents to hear.
Oh, yeah. No, the thing is, it's so easy to have a kid screaming at you and really yell back because you're hurt. And I think it all ties together in everything we're saying, like more compassion and just saying that must be hard. It's all about seeing something as your kid struggling instead of like, we know now that like the safest place to yell is at home with people who aren't going to leave you. And so that all of the hurt and pain of the day is going to come out on parents and moms, I think mostly.
Oh my God.
And so like just girding yourself up for it and knowing that you're likely the most important person in their life. And, if they want to fight with you, you don't have to enter into it.
Yeah.
And all of those phrases that you just said, Steph, like, that must be hard. Yeah. Having those in your back pocket to respond to some like times where you're like, wait, what just happened here? Why? What just happened? Right? Like you just pull it out and go, it sounds like you had a hard day.
I was just practicing them with a friend. I was scripting her and we were going through them. Like, what does that sound like? What's the tone? What's the, and it is. And I think it is one of those things like when we were doing that, I was relaying a story. Oh, this will bring swearing into it again, about a friend of mine who, kid had made a poor decision. The mom found out about it. And I was like, okay, you're going to, again, Amy Spidell, you're going to come at this from a place of curiosity. You're not, so I was like, so let's practice it. You're going to say like, so I'm curious when you made that decision, like tell me kind of what went into that. And she's like, wait, so I can't say to him, are you fucking kidding me? What were you fucking thinking? And I was like, so no, we're going to practice it again because that's not quite it. But I do think, it took literally like 20 times for her to just get she was so worked up, right?
Yeah.
So I think you keep saying it. But I love what you said. And it's mine kind of hits the same like sentiment note, I think. I wish I had been able to be more in the moment with them. And I feel like it ties a lot of pieces. Like, when I see somebody like, walking with a toddler or a 6-year-old, or it doesn't even matter. And I'm thinking, oh, so sweet, those moments. And I feel like I was always thinking about the next meal and who had to get to soccer and who, like, feel like my husband was much better at those things. I think I was like the list maker in my head and what has to happen. And well, if she comes home, like, I think guys have a better ability to do that. And I'm a little jealous of it. And yet it's funny when we talk about things from long ago, Todd, like, I don't remember that. I'm like, wait, really? So there's some funny things, but I think he was really good at just doing the project with them or like just sitting in it, and not being worried about the 12 other things that had to be done that night.
Well, some of it is, did he have 12 things more to do that night versus, you thinking about laundry and dinner tomorrow and lunch for school.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that, like, I don't look at it. So I was similar. I think some would say I wasn't in the moment, but I don't feel badly about it. I think I felt really good about setting up the stage for my kids to have a good experience without needing, like, that was the joy for me to like have a craft project on the table that I didn't sit with them and be part of, but to hear giggling in the other room was like the very best thing I could ever have. So, I mean, I think it's like we both acted the same way, and mine was like, I'm not going to do it any other way. Like, if I had it all to do over again, I'm not going to be the one. Like, Dan would play Barbies with the kids.
Yeah.
My Barbie playing with the kids was organizing everything so it wasn't a disaster. Like, I don't have pretend in me, and Dan has pretend in him. So
I probably same. That's funny.
Yeah. All right. And anybody have anything to add before we say goodbye for the week? We would love to hear if you have anything you want to share that you either take away from our conversation or want to like just say, me too, I could do better here. Because part of what we do at Your Teen is try to let parents know they're not alone. And I think that's been the hugest lifeline in my life as a parent. And Christine is so glad. Let's see. We're going to add.
That's a good one.
I can ping relate to everyone.
I can fucking.
Oh, yay, Christina. We knew we loved you. We did. I can fucking relate to every one of your mom learning opportunities. Thank you for sharing. Christina, thank you for sharing and swearing. And that rhymes.
Caring and swearing is caring.
Okay, Lori says, thanks, never alone. That's awesome. Thank you, Aurelia, I think is how you pronounce your name. We love having you on with us. And next week, we're going to do the harder thing because it's so much harder, I think in particular for women, although, we do talk about gender a lot here, but I think being moms, it's so hard to pat ourselves on the back and say we did something well. So we are going to try and go in that space and share with you things that we were good at. And we did just share our superpower. I'm not sure most people would think it was great, but like I could tune out 5 kids and friends and all that noise and still get work done. I totally could do it. Yeah. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. See you next week.